Hey everyone, Base Llama 3 here, and I'm here to talk about the evolution of Bleach characters throughout the series, their high points, their low points, how they evolved in strength, where I think Kubo was going with them, where they actually ended up, and how they could have potentially evolved throughout the series if either events went differently, or if the series either continued or got a sequel of some sort. Today we're going to start off with a low point and talk about the one, the only, Yasutora Sado, Chad. Yes, people. Okay, so Chad was first introduced in the Substitute arc back in the very beginning of the series. Chad was pretty cool back then. Had a steel beam fall on him as his introduction, got hit by a car and wasn't afraid of anything. Chad was pretty awesome. He was the first human without any type of powers to injure a hollow. Granted, it was Shrieker, and nowadays that doesn't really mean much. But Chad was pretty cool. At the end of the Substitute arc, in order to save Ichigo's sister Karin, he awakened his original right arm, the original form of Brazo, Dreche, De Gigante, and it was pretty cool. Friggin' One Punch Man's that goddamn hollow, but that's when you start thinking about it, it was a random no-name hollow. That couldn't mean much, but Chad wasn't out of the picture yet as being a relevant character. Chad, went to the Soul Society with Uryu, Ichigo, and Orihime to save Rukia. And he was one of the characters to land by himself. He didn't have an ally with him like how Ichigo had Ganju and Uryu had Orihime. He landed by himself, and he was the first one to start getting into some, trouble. He fought tons of Soul Reapers and just one-shot a bunch of them. He basically single-handedly took out Squad 11 without any help. But, when you think about it, Chad was one of the first characters to fight a captain as well. Shunsui Kyoraku, not just a captain, probably one of the strongest captains, the current captain commander. But that's when Chad was at his peak in terms of being really relevant, and also trying to hit with his downfall. Because Chad fought Shunsui, and in my opinion, that's one of the coolest sequences of the show. One of the best scenes, Chad's fight with Shunsui. We like to learn his backstory with, Ichigo, a bit more of his past with his grandfather, stuff like that. But the entire fight, Shunsui basically beat him down like a wet rag. I mean, Chad did not get a single hit on Shunsui, mainly because he couldn't keep up with Shunsui's speed. And eventually at the end, had that awesome sequence where he, sends the big energy punch towards Shunsui, and Shunsui just comes down and just cuts the man, and Shunsui just looks behind him, and you see all the destruction in his path, and Shunsui's just like, hey man, if I hit that, if you hit me with that, that actually would have caused some damage. But after that, Chad basically gets forgotten in the arc. He gets locked in, the Soul Society prison pretty much for the rest of the arc until Kenpachi breaks him out, and he doesn't really do anything of value afterwards. After that, that began what I think Kubo was going for by an arc with Chad. In my opinion, the whole thing with Chad that Kubo was going for was that Chad was this big, tough guy, and his whole backstory was just that I was born strong. I've always been strong, so I'm going to use my strength for good things. But now, he's in this world where there are others so much stronger than him. He's probably one of the weakest. Even his friend who he wants to protect, Ichigo, and the friend he wanted to save, Rukia, ended up having to honestly protect him, So, Yami and Ukiura, they come down in the Aranka arc, and, the first one to show up was Orihime, and then Chad shows up to protect Orihime and gets one-shotted by Yami. Like, Yami just doesn't even pay attention to him. He has to be saved by Orihime, the person he was trying to save, and then further rescued by Ichigo, Kisuke, Yoruichi. After that, it begins a little thing with Chad. Chad asks Kisuke for training in order to get stronger. He doesn't want to be weak anymore. And eventually, he goes to Wako Mundo with Uryu and Ichigo to save Orihime, and we get to, first see the the results of his training. His right arm evolved. It's different now. He now has, he now has a name for it. Brazo Dreche Gigante. That's how he first came up with its name. He fought those no-name Arankars, Ice Rinker and the other one who didn't matter. He basically one-shot at the big one, and that was cool. And then he fights, one of my favorite fights in the series, Chad versus Gantenbon. And that fight was so kick-ass. He gets the true form of his right arm, the shield power. He gets his badass left arm, let's see, what was it called? Brazo Ikira del Diablo. And that awesome moment where he beats Gantenbon, he now has the speed that he needed to keep up. Because Chad's always had the strength. He's never had the speed. He now has the speed to keep up with his Sonido. And he hits friggin' Gantenbon with the La Muerte. The skeleton appears, breaks through the walls of Las Noches. Awesome! Chad's no longer weak. He's on par with Ichigo and Uryu and Renji and Rukia. He's gonna save Orihime and be awesome. And then Yasutora shows up, cuts him in half, and Chad's basically written out of most of Hueco Mundo at this point. Oh, but wait, that's not it. Chad gets back up. He channels all his last bit of strength to send one more attack. If he could just take out one Espada, his whole purpose for being there, he has a reason. And then, Tesla just kind of absorbs the attack, and Chad passes out until the end of Hueco Mundo when Unohana heals him. Okay, Chad's back up. Round 2. Okay, he helps Renji and Rukia fight Rudamon. Okay, that's alright. And then they fight Yami, and Chad and Renji are taken out in one hit. Yeah, you see a pattern here with Chad. Chad gets one-shotted a lot. Like a lot. But, don't worry. Because even though he's not in Fate Karakura at all, and he doesn't show up in Deicide until the very end after Aizen's already defeated, and he has one line, we eventually get a 2-year time skip. And Chad was built up very well in the Fullbringer arc. No one knew where he was at. They bring up he wasn't at school for a while. And, we just didn't know. Eventually we see Chad, and he's with the execution, and we eventually learn the nature of Chad's abilities. Chad is a Fullbringer, a human with hollow powers, very similar to a Visor. Chad, we have all this lore to go. Where did Fullbringers originate? Who was the first Fullbringer? What does it mean that Chad's a Fullbringer? Aizen brought up that Chad's powers are awakened by the Hogyoku. What does this mean? How much stronger has Chad become? This is Chad's arc. His time to shine. He fights Tsukishima, gets mind control, has a little fight with Ichigo for a bit, but him and Ichigo, neither of them get really hurt. And then he kind of disappears. And then the final arc comes, the Quincy Butler arc. And him, Orihime, Kisuke, and Ichigo now, they go to save the Chaka from the Quincy's. Ichigo gets locked away. Chad gets kind of bitch smacked off screen by Quilgay. And then nothing. And then eventually we see Chad for a little bit with Orihime. They're in Hueco Mundo. Apparently Kisuke's putting together an army. And Chad and Orihime mentioned Kisuke's training them. Kisuke, one of the strongest characters in the series. Oh my god, Chad and Orihime are gonna come back just like Rukia and Renji did. They're gonna fight Stern Ritter. It's gonna be badass. They're gonna be at the top again on this level. They never got on that level. They show up. They have some funny moments with Ichigo. Chad apparently is a titties man, much like myself. They go to the Soul Palace and get one shot by Ask. I don't even know if you count it as a one shot. Ask him beat them without any effort. And then him and Ganju, they fight a bunch of stone people, and that's the last time we see Chad until the final chapter, where we learn that Chad's a pro boxer, so the character that not many people cared about is apparently the most successful of them all. Okay. I just want to bring this up right quick. Chad's one of the weakest characters in the series. Not the weakest, but down there. But compared to a regular human, he's Mo friggin' Saitama. So it's really not fair for him to compete in regular boxing, honestly. But yeah, that was Chad. I've always liked Chad. I've always felt bad they never got to do much. In my opinion, Kubo was going for something. Like I said, Chad, the man who's always strong, learns how truly weak he is and has to build himself up. Each arc, he feels like he's getting closer and closer to his friend Ichigo, but then a strong opponent shows up, knocks Chad down. He can't do nothing. And then soon, eventually, maybe in the final arc, the end of the series, Chad's finally reached that point. He can stand at the top with his friends, Uryu and Ichigo. He's one of the strongest. He can handle anything his enemies can dish out. He knows the nature of his abilities. He can do it all. Well, we never got to that. Let's talk about the abilities of a Fullbringer for a bit. So how Fullbringers work is that they have the ability to communicate with souls. And, using that, they can do cool stuff like use Bringer Light, which is a technique that increases their speed, similar to a Hollow Sonido. Bringer Light can also do stuff like they can talk to the souls of, water and lift around the water like Ginjo did, stuff like that. And when a Fullbringer has a connection with a deep connection with an item or something, they becomes their Fullbring, a weapon that they can fight with. Chad's Fullbring was the skin on his two arms, because his grandfather always taught him to be proud of his arms, and that's what became his two Fullbrings. And, his Fullbrings evolved throughout the series, became stronger. But, still didn't do much just knowing his powers. He was still the same Chad. I honestly was always surprised that Kubo never gave Chad a third Fullbring. Because remember, Fullbrings are items that someone has a deep connection with. What's an item that we see Chad wearing all the time that he always brings up in his backstory that apparently is a very major part of his past and he loves and has all the pride for in his heart? The medallion that his grandfather gave him. I always thought that would become a third Fullbring for Chad, like either a weapon of some sort, since it is Bleach, everyone has a sword of some type, or something, or could go with Chad being a physical fighter. I was so surprised that Kubo never gave Chad a full body Fullbring, an armor, you could say, that increases speed and strength dramatically, and then giving him the power to handle anything. But that didn't happen. Other thing, Visors or Soul Reapers with with hollow abilities. And, Visors have a hollow mask, and they can move around, even faster putting that on, and they can use Sado. And you have Ichigo, who is part hollow because of the stuff that went down with Shiro and his mom. And, because of that, Ichigo throughout the series, he's become a Vasto Lourdes, he's shot in Saros and Grand Ray Saros, stuff like that. So why can't Fullbringers do that? They're pretty much the same as Visors, since that they're humans with hollow abilities. So how come the Visors why can't the Fullbringers shoot Saros or Balas or use, I don't know. Honestly, considering a Fullbring, in my opinion, is very similar to a Resurrection, changes your body around in some instances. Why can't they do things like use Hiero to, strengthen themselves, Pesquisa to notice their enemies around them and whatnot? That was also what I thought would happen with Chad. Maybe not Saro, because that's kind of Ichigo's thing. But what if Chad used, let's see, a hollow technique that centers around their fist, like Chad does? That'd be pretty devastating. The Bala? Honestly, for someone who needs speed like Chad, a completely speed-based technique like Bala would be pretty awesome, but didn't happen. I seriously think Kubo was trying to go for something with Chad, him trying to evolve, having a massive character arc over the course of, multiple, arcs in the series. The only other characters that have really had character arcs are Orihime, during the Eyes and stuff, Rukia between Substitute and Soul Society, and the stuff with Kaien, eventually ending with the fight with Arnyero. Ichigo, obviously main character. I guess you kind of say Uryu a few times in the series. But Chad, I think he was trying to go for this big, all-encompassing, Chad slowly gets better with each arc until the final arc where we can finally say, yes, this character has truly grown. But it just didn't end up happening. Too bad, too. Honestly, I would say that past the time skip, 10-year time skip. Chad's probably a lot stronger now, but it's past the point of anyone caring. The series is over. There's not going to be a sequel, most likely. Well, well, that's the end for Chad. I don't know. I'm going to talk about. I'm probably just going to limit these discussions to the main cast, maybe a few other Soul Reapers here and there. If I do, the next one I talk about is probably going to be Orihime and Noe. But that's it, guys. Bayside Llama 3 signing out. El Director.